But yeah, then
This was our best game of the match from like overall quality from both sides. I thought. I mean, that was
maybe
my
like my play was really really sloppy at some point. Like obviously, we were kind of hoping that you guys didn't have knight c6 here. Like I mean, people are doing okay with knight f6 now as well, but at least then you kind of get a game, right?
So like when we were checking knight c6, I think I played a game against Christian, and he played, what was it after knight d4? Is it queen d3, right?
Oh.
Which immediately no, it's a queen c4. And then like years later, we were discussing the position again, and he was like, "What about queen c4?"
That's funny. Christian is Fabiano's main coach, or was at the very least at the time. For those who are wondering. Yeah, that's funny.
I did feel like the end game that we got was like it was underestimated in our prep, but it did feel a bit unpleasant.
Yeah. No, it did feel like a very slight advantage at some point, but then I just completely lost my way. Like I spent ages on this maneuver, which was just nonsense, to be honest.
Yeah, this g3 stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Knight c8 was nice, of course, and then I think I just completely underestimated c5, and then as far as I can, I more or less blitzed the next couple of moves, and then I realized that I'm not even equal. Like I'm just, from thinking I'm slightly better, I'm just worse. Yeah.
I think your chances of advantage are pretty much evaporated at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know where you.
No.
Maybe keeping the knights. Yeah. Maybe that would be the way.
Yeah. I seem to remember that. Yeah, but I mean, probably knight c8 there was just nothing. Yeah. Maybe it was just a feeling I had at the time. But yeah, this was crazy. Just no real sense of danger here whatsoever. Like here, I was still thinking that I'm very slightly better, and I cannot for the life of me understand why.
Yeah, it does feel like my pieces are all pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're getting a few moves in, like bishop f4 and everything, all the trades go in your favor. Even in that case, it's equal.
But for now, I'm underdeveloped. Your pieces are better, and it's just. And
here I did feel like mildly optimistic because your bishop is so awkward.
Yeah, I was definitely feeling the heat here already. And I mean, bishop d1 was, I don't know how much time I spent, but this was a bit.
If we assume this is accurate on the side, I mean, it has 46 minutes at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I just remember I was getting fidgety at this point because I didn't like this direction whatsoever. Like, I'm a little bit surprised that the engine says that white is just fine, because it did feel like, in many ways, it did feel a little bit unpleasant. I think this was my original.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting this
idea, right? And rook e8, and
I don't know if I would play rook e8, or I can't remember if it was rook e8 or rook d7 that I wanted.
I mean, rook d7, I go to f4, right? So
yeah. No, I mean, in either case, you're okay.
Yeah, but I think this was my original plan, just to go for bishop f4, and my first instinct was that white is fine, but I couldn't really see how to equalize completely, even if I get this and this. Do I really want to take on e6? And it's very, very minor stuff, but I think I just looked at it for a few minutes and then moved my bishop, which is honestly a crazy decision.
It was a very risky moment,
Yeah.
because now it's really sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, d4 is just super weak.
Yeah, it's really.
You kind of did what you had to do at this point forward, right?
Yeah, I think I had to trade, and this is more or less a forced. And then this was my other, like, moment of insanity, not going for a4, because I mean, you really should not lose this position with the dark squared bishops and the knight being well placed.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting knight on e3, king on d3, then you're
Yeah.
just too
You
solid.
just sit, like, to illustrate, you can make moves like bishop e6.
Or, yeah, king e2 first.
Yeah, or king e2 first, just to prevent bishop c3. Let's say the bishop goes to e7. I mean, you can go g4, or you can just g5.
Yeah, just
not
a6 and bishop f.
But the thing is, I was even looking at f4 in these situations, and that
Yeah, this is a fortress.
it's pretty much a fortress. Like
I mean,
g6, I can even go f5. I think.
Yeah, this is definitely a fortress.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to.
Or I mean, king c3 and then.
No, I mean, I think f5 is 100% a fortress
Yeah.
because I'm not breaking through on the queen side ever. Bishop f4, or king c3. Yeah.
King c3.
Well, no, don't allow f4. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit sweaty, but I mean, I don't think you're ever doing anything here. But the thing is that this was clearly very, very drawish. I just, for some reason, I decided that this was also okay. Like, I don't remember if I missed bishop a3 or I just underestimated it, but judging by the time, I definitely didn't feel great after that move.
And yeah, and it is a pure free roll, which feels really
Yeah.
nice in a match with the black pieces.
Yeah. f4. I guess this was logical.
Well, yeah, I don't remember what I was thinking, but like.
I mean,
bishop d7,
bishop
d7 makes
c6
sense.
is very logical. Bishop d1.
But now you're like purely in survival mode, right?
Yeah.
Because you're on the edge of
I'm
losing.
definitely on the edge here. Like, all my moves here are quite. Yeah, they're quite forced. Like, I have to go f4, f5, and then.
Yeah, I don't remember why I think it was a big decision to take the d4 pawn, not the a2 pawn, but I can't remember why I rejected. Okay, knight a2, probably knight c2, right? Or there's knight c1 there?
There's knight c1. Yes,
Okay, so
bishop a7. No, I think I saw this
Bishop
knight
d1,
c1
yeah.
and bishop d1. And this. I seem to remember that I was not super worried about this, but I mean, it does look a bit yucky.
It does look very drawish, though. I mean, also, instead of knight c2, like some way to attack d5, but yeah, I mean, b3 is also weak. But, okay, I think
Yeah.
my decision was sensible as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can even give d4 and go g4, g5, it should be okay. No, I think yours was the most, I mean, definitely the one that I feared the most.
So I did have this feeling the d-pawn was very dangerous, but, I mean,
Yeah.
just seeing this, like, number, which is almost nothing, is a bit
It's-
sobering.
No, but I do remember that I couldn't. There were many instances like this. Like, I couldn't refute knight f1. I remember that, but it just looks so dangerous.
Yeah, also the way the engine plays is just putting a knight on d2 and wait and sitting, which is not super easy.
Yeah.
With the king on f2.
And it feels like these pawns on the king side are.
Yeah, they're not moving.
They're not moving, and. I mean, I guess my king is always very active, but it didn't feel good. So, say takes king a2, bishop e4,
g4 and...
say bishop c2.
So wait, if I go to b1, then just pawn a4 is not a big deal at all.
No, but
Or you can... Ah, yeah, because the king goes to
king-
e4, yeah.
Yeah, it goes to e4. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this was... Yeah, it was a surprise for me that you gave up the piece, but it didn't seem like a bad decision necessarily.
No, I definitely misjudged this because firstly I misjudged it, but secondly I also missed bishop a3.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'm getting this pawn rolling and I'm completely
Yeah, without bishop a3 I don't have
bishop
chances.
a3. Like I thought it's just dead draw, and then
It's actually the second time I played bishop a3, which is funny.
Yes, I think I may have missed it twice actually.
No, without that, then I have zero
then
chances to win.
You have nothing, but yeah. Now I was definitely getting worried. So yeah, keep the a pawn looks keeping the a pawn looks logical. Do you remember if there were any chances for you here, or are we just arriving at this?
I think it was just a draw. Yeah.
It was just a draw. Yeah.
I mean, I have very little freedom here.
Yeah.
And there was like one winning opportunity in the game.
Yeah. Later on, there
famous
was one.
Yeah, I was really surprised by this decision. I just didn't expect you to just give the pawn to get the king there.
I like, as far as I can remember, I just was really sure that it was a fortress, and I thought like I can sit here and try and find another fortress, but yeah, I'm not sure about it. So let's just go for this one. Also, like, I didn't like the idea of letting the knight to e5.
It is a fortress, but it's such a borderline one. It's like,
yeah, no, I didn't, but I didn't realize it was that borderline. That's the thing.
But this is a draw. It's just
Yeah,
I had
this
some
is-
like accidental win.
Yeah, it's a very nice fortress actually.
Okay, so I don't really remember nuances, but yeah, you let my knight get to e2. I think king g6 is already lost, right?
Yeah, king g6 is the losing move. Yeah.
Which is kind of unfair because it's so natural. Like
Yeah.
in blitz, you play it automatically.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. And then yeah, bishop g5, and then yeah, bishop h4 specifically wins.
Yeah, it's not easy, I think.
And then you put the knight on, like, you trap the knight on g3, right?
Yeah, well, I already given up hope. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I could sense that at the time. That I think we both were just sure that this was a fortress.
yeah, I don't even know if I considered bishop h4. I actually don't remember my thoughts, and I just remember thinking for 2 hours in bed about why it's winning. Also, like, because my knight goes to g1 here.
Oh yeah, that's where you're.
And then my king goes to g8 because if my king's on h8 at any moment.
No, I remember that. If the king comes to h8, you're just winning because you're getting to h6.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think it's like findable, but it is on the edge of findable and not findable.
It's also after 5 hours, right? And
yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really tough.
Yeah, like besides that one mistake, the game did not contain any swings. Like,
No, I mean, I certainly made some moves that made it a bit more difficult, and I think you did a fantastic job, like putting on pressure from a position which looked, I mean, dead equal. I don't know. Maybe it was all in my own head, but I didn't imagine, like, there were many points where I thought I was just out of the woods, and then there was something there. So I don't know. But of course, what was the made in 36 or something?
I think it was maybe more than that, but I don't know if engine has maybe changed. But Sese was strong enough to calculate till mate, right, at that time.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was 36. What was it?
Yeah, maybe it was a bit more.
I mean, if I had found this, I would consider it like my best game I've ever played.
Yeah, because apart from that, I mean, I did just start defending well at some point, I think.
Yeah.
And then
you didn't make egregious mistakes, I don't think. Just like some questionable...
Some questionable choices here and there. Okay. Yeah. So this was game 6. Then game
really
7
boring.
was probably the most boring game, and then game 8 again was.
this was. I really regret this one. This was really stupid.
So I remember thinking that we were going to face knight d5 at some point, because we did consider it to be, like, generally the most dangerous line, but I mean, as it wasn't coming, we weren't quite sure what to expect, right? And the lines that I was checking from day to day definitely were not the most thorough for sure, because I was definitely not into the details there. So like, what was the process for you guys, like getting to the point where you just wanted to go for 95?
We had already been considering it from the previous white game, but we just weren't like at the point where I was ready to play it. And so first we started with, like, I guess this was the critical position.
Yeah.
Like this was a theory at the time, and
then it was
we started with like
either bishop d2 or king
Yeah.
h1, right? So
yeah, and
those were most of the time.
I think bishop d2 was like the more modern approach, which like Oparin used to beat Gelfand. I think that was like one of the key games. And then king h1 was like the old stuff, which was at some point after we went through bishop d2 and b4, then king h1 was like, okay, what else can we do? So that was the last try that we were going to use, like later in the match. But then you switched to knight e7. But yeah, bishop d2. We hadn't found b4 yet, and we were pretty happy with this direction, I think. But it was enormously complicated, and like what you played was only one of the lines.
Yeah.
I think what was like confusing to us at the time were these positions where, like, I forget exactly how it goes, but white plays c3 b4 and then very often b5, and that was like strategically shocking. But Leela was really happy sometimes with that structure with white's pawn on b5.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly the details, but those were like the lines that we were considered critical. And this stuff that you played with knight e5, like,
yeah,
first we were looking at knight takes e5, which just looked terrifying for white. So then we figured that you probably shouldn't take on e5. But that whole process took a long time as well.
Yeah. No, but in retrospect, like, this was an insane line to go down to begin with for black, since there are definitely more solid choices. And then g5 was just an attempt to recall like the final position of a line that I remembered. But it's like I could see during the game, like, I'm not in time, and then I just ended up playing it regardless, which was a bit crazy, because it's just c4 c5 and then
g5 is basically a losing move. I think I had like a game against Peter a few months later from the other side, and I was trying to recall that I think I played bishop f6, c4, g5, and then I wondered, like, or maybe he didn't play c4, maybe he played king h1. Is that possible? Or like, I just remembered that after g5 I was wondering what to do after g3, and I didn't feel comfortable with my position.
Yeah.
But he allowed f4, and then, but yeah, after g5 c4 I just felt like, yeah, this is pretty much a disaster for black. But I didn't know how much of a disaster yet, which it's about as bad as it can get.
It is about as bad as it can get. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's. I mean, it's just. Yeah, it's just one of those.
Oh, sorry. The game against Wheeler was bishop f6, bishop e2, g5.
And then g3, and you were thinking that you were stuck there.
I think so, but I think anyways, I might be misremembering. This was a game from 2019, Granke.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But I mean, generally, this is a extremely risky direction for black to take. Like, you really don't need to do this.
Yeah, and like what you showed later with, like, against Maxime, I think.
Yeah,
that was like a very good solution.
Yeah.
You just like stop the pawn on a4 and play a5 b6 and so on.
People have sort of stopped doing this for white. Like, they're going for some earlier a5 stuff just to.
It does feel like a fashion thing and still.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, b4, honestly, we were super, like, we didn't know, and like even for later games, like, we found it hard to find something that we were really satisfied with. Like, it looks like, I don't know if that was a Leela thing or not, but it looks so crazy, but we just
this was linear working with Leela.
Yeah, we really didn't, like, that was the reason why we switched, because not because we were worried that you were gonna go to king h1 or whatever. We just, like, didn't like the positions after b4 at all.
Yeah, I think on principle I wouldn't have repeated it because I
Yeah.
would just assume like I shouldn't be repeating like the last thing I've done. But
No, but yeah.
b4 was a good idea. That
No, for
was
sure.
definitely one of our better ideas in the match.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is g5 is just a wild move.
Yeah, I think this is like I think the easiest one was rook ae1 instead of rook ad1. This was probably I think rook ae1 is like +3 or something, plus maybe more than that.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit hard to explain to people. Like basically, white has a bind. The pawn is too strong, and the black king is perpetually weak. So these are some of the reasons why. I mean, also the black queen is passive. Like black position is just a wreck here.
I think it's also like calculatable because your options are you have like basically two moves, bishop d6 and bishop f6 in any position. So
no, but what was the
maybe bishop
refutation here?
e5 or not bishop?
Oh, bishop e5. Yeah. This. Yeah, here. I seem to remember even like queen c3. I just couldn't see what to do. But apparently, like
okay, it's not super trivial, yeah.
It's not.
But I think
super trivial. But rook d1.
So
here,
like queen h5 is of course the.
But I think this is what I was looking at, and I just, like, I just couldn't make it work for black. I mean, it doesn't work for black.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm just falling apart.
I mean, h3 is insane. I think, like queen h5 was kind of my instinct after bishop d6, and then. I started seeing some ghosts after bishop g6, queen h6, which rook f7, rook fe1 or knight.
Yeah,
but it's just over. It's not too difficult, I think.
No, but d6 is coming in.
But yeah,
It's
after
just very
h3,
bad.
it's just there's.
And
Just
the thing
nothing
is, like, it's shocking how it goes from, and then after h3, it's just more or less a forced draw.
yeah, it's just zeros basically.
Yeah.
But it was such a soft move.
Yeah. No, I mean, knight c4. I don't remember what I was thinking about queen h5, but knight c4 I thought was kind of it was just calculable because like the only way not to resign immediately is g4 and g3, but it just doesn't work. And
Yeah, I don't remember looking at bishop knight c4. I think my instinct was not knight c4 in general. I just think I was focusing on queen h5, got a bit scared, and then played h3, thinking, okay, whatever, it's still gonna be really good.
Still gonna be winning, and then
and then it's not at all.
yeah, I seem to remember that I played this. Yeah, I think I played this basically without thinking because I was just, I really got away with something here.
Yeah, from the black side, you probably feel like once you get some freedom, it just feels like a whole.
But this really like felt like game one to me. Like it's just, I mean, it's not like a super obvious choice, but it's just hesitation at the wrong time for both of us.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, we both definitely missed. Like that was my feeling after the match. That okay, I mean, I didn't miss a big chance here, but the first game was a gift as well.
Yeah.
And I never really blamed myself very much for game 6. This one I did kind of blame myself, but okay.
Yeah, and then you could say like you had a slight chance in game 3, and then game 7 maybe. No, not game 7, game 9.
Obstacle bishop one, or
obstacle bishop one. Like I had some slight chances there as well. I mean, I'm not sure if they were real, but I think they were.
At least practically, yeah.
Practically,
and game 10 was a good game.
I think game 10 was a fantastic game. Like, I mean, obviously we made some mistakes here and there, but overall, I think it was very, very high level.
I mean, for the complexity of the position, it was because I definitely had maybe a decisive advantage at some point, but I had to allow an attack.
Yeah,
which was just so difficult, I think.
Okay, yeah. So this ended up in a draw. So this is game 8. As people may know, like this was game. I mean, this was not a fantastic idea by any means. Like white is, it's not better. But like the most obvious, like the most direct choices don't really like it doesn't quite equalize for black. So this was basically what I knew, that these positions were not quite drawn, but which honestly I think this is probably the best I had as white the whole match. Like the only time that I got you thinking, and
yeah, I felt very under pressure here.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of went for the forcing stuff because I thought strategically there's a lot of risk if I don't take on f3.
Yeah. No,
And
I mean when you come to this point, right?
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to play e4. Like
Yeah.
that was pretty clear to me. But like I didn't want to kind of mess around too much. I thought at least, okay, that one should be.
Yeah, I mean you
should
got
be
a bishop on
defensible.
b6 as well, right? So like it's not like you can mess around a ton, positionally speaking. But
I mean, only h5 was like a bit of an inaccuracy. Besides that, there was nothing.
yeah. No, this is the only point. Like you really need to play g6 in order to avoid. And the thing is that such a position is actually, even with both rooks exchanged, for those who are wondering, it
just sucks.
It's actually very sad because there's always this idea, and yeah, I think h5 was just more or less I'll throw it out there and we'll see what happens. But it was, I mean, to play that after 10 minutes was really quite weak, because even though, I mean, it's most probably not going to give me anything significant, like I can definitely pretend here, like rook f8, whatever, king g2 or something.
Yeah, I think I would play h5 f5.
Yeah, h5 f5. But I mean, with this, yeah, I mean there isn't much, but I'm gonna keep one rook, move around a bit, and then try and play e4 at some point. It's definitely like a little something. But yeah, game 10 was just a great game. So we get into this again, the same position that we were talking about, and then b4.
So you were totally on your own.
I was totally, yeah. We hadn't considered this. Like, we hadn't gone beyond king h1 and bishop d2. I think we'd like briefly looked at some very early a5 stuff, but no.
People are still playing, like, losing with white very quickly here by playing queen f3, like instead of a4, queen f.
Yeah, I saw the rest of it.
No, but it was really funny because I was playing like a 15 game 3-minute match against Wesley on chess.com.
Yeah.
Oh no, a6 first, right?
Oh,
a6, queen a3, bishop
a6
b7, and you're supposed to play bishop g5 to provoke f6,
yeah,
but they
exactly.
play bishop d2, castle, bishop b4, take knight a6, bishop d2, bishop g5, which is game over. Just like, despite what the engine says, like -4 or something.
Yeah.
And Wesley played this against me in a 3-minute blitz game. I checked the game after. I see that it's -4, and then Ali Reza plays it against me in the World Championship.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. But yeah, we weren't looking at queen f3 during the match at all.
No, I mean that's a bit much. But yeah, b4, this was just completely out of left field for me. Yeah, I mean there are other options, but I think it's hard not to go for a5 when you're facing it for the first time. It feels like the critical choice positionally. But I mean, in retrospect, like the more hardcore attacking stuff for black is a better way to go. But even for game 12, like we didn't like this at all.
I think we didn't pay much attention to this a5 just because we were kind of only looking at the engine for the most part, and it just hated this, so we were okay.
Yeah.
Bishop e3.
No, I just like this is as far as I went. As you see, like I didn't even spend that much time. I just thought queen e8, and I went to more or less how bad can this be, right? I was just thinking like you're not breaking through on the queen side, and I should have something to play for on the king side. And I think it was.
It's not that bad. Objectively, I think.
Yeah. And then like it's kind of shocking that rook a3, which I think is what anybody would play in this position with queen g6 and so on coming. Like this basically gives away the advantage on the spot.
And makes it very double-edged as well.
Yeah,
rook e1 was important.
Rook
for my memory, yeah. Which is very logical.
It is logical, but yeah, I don't remember what I was thinking here, but
I think we did have rook e1 in the notes. It just wasn't one of the main directions, so I didn't remember.
No, I mean, at least for the first game, you're never going to remember all the things that are not like near the main lines. It's just not possible.
Also, like let's say we get here f3 knight f6 or something. Nobody's playing rook b4.
Now maybe you go queen king h1, right?
But do you really sack the d5 pawn? Is it?
Oh,
like
I thought you were. Evidently, you're not.
I'm scared to open the h file.
Oh, maybe you're just.
Or okay, maybe not.
Maybe
The h file doesn't even matter. Yeah.
No,
but I mean,
then you don't sack the d5 pawn.
Yeah, and then just play this position.
This is, yeah. we're not good enough for this necessarily. At least in a decisive world championship match, like in a decisive game.
Yeah, b5 I was a bit surprised by it, but it's not a bad move.
It was just adrenaline, to be honest. I wanted to clarify the position, and it just looked very, very tempting. So I think.
Yeah, this is the moment where I think bishop b5 is objectively like more or less winning, but you have to allow an attack. Like Shanklin annotated this game and included some nice lines here. Probably something along the lines of f3 were like one of his main lines at least. g3, and then queen in h, or no, this.
Yeah, this is just nothing.
But there's something where black tries to arrange bishop h3, and it doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, the weird thing is that I actually included b4 after
g3.
After g3 and not here. And then it makes sense that the rook is a lot worse on the b file than on the fourth.
But it is logical to want to lure the bishop from e2 as well.
Yeah.
And okay, queen g5 does prepare rook f6 and so on. So
yeah, so this kind of prevents it at the very least.
I don't think f3 was good. F3 wasn't good for black. I mean, it was equal as well.
Yeah.
I think we basically played.
Now we just get to something that I remember. Like I was still super nervous here because I think especially in these positions,
I was also nervous.
Pretty nervous.
I felt like there was a lot of potential for white to lose this. But we did play it pretty well.
Yeah, we did play it all right. I think there was just one bad moment for me.
It was king c5 or something later?
Yeah,
Or king d4.
King d4 is really, really unnecessary. Like at this point, I should have just forced a draw.
I do remember you looked very disappointed after rook b5.
Yeah.
But it's still just a forced draw, just a bit.
Yeah. What was my thought here? What was my thought? Yeah, I remember. I was actually a little bit worried about something like rook c5, rook e6, and then rook a4 or something like this, and then rook f6. Starting to probe.
Okay, if I get both rooks to the 8th, then
yeah.
But I don't think I get that if you're careful.
I mean, I go g6, g5.
But if you're just careful, a move or two before. I mean,
apparently rook e8 draws. What's the...
Just king on g8. And just wait.
Okay. That's modern engines for you.
I mean, I would rather play this with 2 rooks for sure. Then I wouldn't have agreed to a draw immediately.
No, I think we're at this point we're both kind of getting out of there. But yeah, I was a bit relieved that there was rook f4. No, I think this is what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And then king h7, king takes f3. And, okay, now I have this and this.
Or immediately rook b4.
Oh, actually, this is a great setup. Like wherever you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it's just a dead draw.
I think like people question me why I didn't play 3 against 2 because in the first game you played, but that was a totally different 3 against 2. I mean, this is the most basic one.
Yeah, this is the most.
That was with my pawn split, so I thought it was a different scenario.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there was like a little something, but here, yeah, this is as basic as it gets. Okay. Yeah, game 11, 12. I think we've probably spent enough time on this.